Linda Campbell just made a video I watched, and she's got some what looks like Eastern cedar inside her garage, and then she had some Eastern red cedar outside of her garage. That would be this here. This is the red cedar. It's got red on the inside, and it was just freshly cut, I think, wasn't it, Linda? So, well, here's the mushroom I made, and that split just keeps getting bigger and bigger. Let me. That split just keeps getting bigger and bigger, and this is dried out for, I know, 3 years at least, and it still has moisture in it. And that was inside my garage, so it's been dry. And even though I turned it, it was so massive that the water has not come out of it yet. And you can see how big that is. That's as big as my hand spread out. And you can see the split, that wasn't there when I first turned this. That split was not there. Not only is there a split there, there's a little small split right here coming down. There's a little itty bitty fraction of a split right there, about a hairline split, and it just keeps widening up. There's a little itty bitty split right there starting. It's just a hairline split. But this one here it's massive. And it's just going to keep getting a little bit bigger and bigger until all the moisture is out of there. And like I said, this is at least 3 years in the dry. Here's a little chunk of oak. Now, if this was 1 foot this way, 1 foot this way, and 1 foot, it'd be a 1 foot square. And if you'd cut this piece of oak that was alive before you took it to the sawmill, it would have 1 gallon of water in it. Now, it's going to take a long time for that 1 gallon of water to come out of that 1 foot square. And you can see this little piece here, it has these little hairline cracks already starting in it. This was wet when I got it. I got this from the sawmill. And it's been in the house now for, I know, a month. And I've got a bunch of wood in the house drying out. And this is the only piece of western cedar I got. And it just happened to be a piece of fat wood. And I installed a Nathan 4071 ferrocenium rod in it, and you can see that I've been using it. And you can scrape this just like you do pine fat wood. And it has the resins in it. It doesn't catch fire as quickly as a piece of fat wood does, but it does catch fire because it has resins in it. And here's a piece of red cedar. See, even the little limbs have red in the middle. And let me get that up there, because I want you to see them little beads of, you see them little beads right there of resin oozing out? That right there is just like the fatwood resin or the fatwood sap, and it'll light up just like pine fatwood. And that was cut just not too long ago. I had a tree branch break out of a red cedar tree, so of course I'm going to cut it up. And it takes a long time for this to dry out natural. Now, how do they get wood at the hardware store to be dry? Well, they put it in a kiln, K-I-L-N. It's like an oven. And they heat it up to about 130 degrees Fahrenheit for 30 minutes. And that reduces the moisture out of the wood. But these are boards that's been cut up, not big massive logs. They don't put logs in the kiln. This is after they've cut it up into boards, like 2x4s and planks and, things like that. And they put it in the oven and they bake it or cook it until the moisture is out of it. So it comes from the sawmill wet, and it goes to the kiln lumber yard and gets dried out, and then it gets shipped to the hardware stores where you buy your boards, your 2x4s and your planks and your, anything you want. But it has been dried out. Now, if it's been freshly cut and it's massive, like this piece right here, and I've had this piece for, I know, at least 3 years in my building, it's still going to have moisture in it because it's going to take a long, long time for that moisture to get from the inside of that out. But if you cut it into like a 2x4 or a flat board and then put it in a kiln, it's going to dry out a lot quicker, especially at 130 degrees Fahrenheit. And if you're going to work with it, the wood you got, Linda, it's going to split on you like this right here. There's no ands, ifs, or buts. It's going to split because that moisture is still in that wood. And there's no way to get it out except time. And if it's massive, and I've seen your pieces are even bigger than these. If you go to turn a bowl, it's going to split on you. I would say the only way that you could get that not to split is to bring it in your house and let it heat up for the next, 6 months. And it's going to have to be hot. Now, here's what I've done. I've got a lot of cars. I've got about 19 vehicles. And some of them, they have wood in them. That's right. You know how hot it gets inside of a car. You're not supposed to leave your children in a car because it gets too hot. Well, that's exactly where I put my wood. I put it in that hot car, and I leave them in there for about a year to dry out. And I've got an old Camaro sitting out there in the yard, and the front seat, the back seat is full of wood. So I get a piece out every now and then. Now, if the tree is dead, let's say this tree is dead, it's been standing there, the limbs has been breaking out, and you can tell it's been dead, standing there for a long, long time, yeah, that's going to dry out a lot quicker. But if it's alive and growing and you've cut it, or like those tree branches I had, let me get this here. This was just broke out of a tree that last ice storm we had, which was about 3 weeks ago. This is still wet. It's still drying out, and it's going to just keep cracking and cracking. You can see right here, there's a crack right there, all the way up through that center piece right there. See that crack in there? That crack right there. That just keeps getting wider and wider because the moisture is leaving the wood. And you can see how wide that is. There's a little crack right there starting. See that little crack right there starting? And it's splitting up through here. Well, that's just the wood drying out. This ain't going to dry out as much as the rest, but that little crack right there, that's even surprising me why it's cracking like that. There must be something going on inside that to make that crack like that, but it's wet, and it's going to take a long time for that to really dry out. But I've been making fires with it so far, using the fat wood part. But like I said, if it's still alive when the tree is cut down, it's going to take a long time for it to dry out. Now, if it's dead, that's another story. You're still going to have to wait because it's going to have a certain amount of moisture in it too. And the best way to do is just wait until the percent of moisture is down to around 15% moisture. And then you don't get the warpage, you don't get the checks, you don't get the splits, you don't get the anything as much as you would if it was a wet wood. So I hope that helps you out there, Linda. I just bring some of that wood in the house, the ones you want to do first, the wood turnings or whatever, and the pieces you want to work with. Start bringing them in the house where it's warm, or put them in a car and let the heat take care of it. And you still might get some splittage like this right here, but it shouldn't be as much. Now, see, my garage isn't heated, or my wood shop, it's not heated. And so 3 years, and it still hasn't. That right there is moisture. If I would go put this in a bathtub and then let it get wet, that would seal back up again, because it's like a sponge. It'll just draw that moisture back into it. But then you got to wait again for it to dry back out. So the best thing I could tell you, Linda, is to just wait. And I've waited 3 years to use this piece here, and look, it's still split on me. And if I would do anything with these little pieces right here, I know they're going to start splitting on me. So, yeah, it takes a lot of time. Now, if you could cut them down to boards into thinner pieces, I'd say go for it. This right here, that's a piece of Eastern fat wood, and that's the only piece of Eastern cedar I have, and it lights up. And we might as well do one. Well, looks like I'm going to run out of time, so I ain't going to be able to do one. I'm going to have to let you guys go. I'm sorry. We're at my time limit.